Hello, this is Dr. Jeff Craig, Superintendent for West Aurora Schools, and we welcome you back to our West Aurora podcast. And today we have Hayley Skye Darukhanavala. I'll get through that, and so we're really excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a unique pleasure to have grads coming back and talking to us on the podcast. But I know you're here also because we have a big event coming up on Friday. You're going to be part of that as well.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I'm so excited to be back and see all my teachers. Some of them have not seen me since, I think, like 2005 or 6 maybe.
It'll be a good good follow-up, a good homecoming for you. So you've told me that everyone asks you what your full name is. And so and I got a chance to talk to Mrs. Martino last night because we had a meeting together. And, of course, she reads the names at graduation, and she goes, I think I got this one. So I kind of butchered it up early with Hayley Skye Darukhanavala.
No, you did good. You did good.
But you think all of your classmates and all of your teachers would know you as Hayley, yes? And so you like to be called Hayley, but you also go by another handle because you have a stage presence, and that is Skye Daru.
I do. So, yes, everyone in New York, they don't know who Hayley is. They only know me by Skye Daru, which is the name given to me when I signed for modeling and music.
Awesome.
But, I grew up here. Everyone knows me as Hayley Darukhanavala, the girl with the long, the long last name.
So we're going to go with Hayley today because that's your homegrown 129 name. That makes sense?
Let's go with it.
Awesome. So you are a 2016 grad from West High? Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And so you've had some unique experiences not only here but after here, and we're going to go down through a few of those because I think people, they like to be able to hear about what do our kids do when they leave our system. And so you have some great stories here. But tell me a little bit about your time here in District 129, maybe what you were involved in, some of your favorite memories.
Absolutely. So I grew up in North Aurora.
Okay.
I was one of the first people that moved in the neighborhood here. I went to Fern Elementary. And then I moved on to Jewel Middle School, and I graduated from West Aurora 4 years ago. My unique experiences here have been all over the place. This is where I found my love for music. I had been a part of all the talent shows here and competed, in school, out of school. When Aurora put on their first, teen talent show, the first one, I had been their first winner. And that kind of sparked a little journey for me. I found a love for playing piano and singing. And then I got traction from that, finding a love from performing on stage in the musicals. And it kind of carried over professionally when I entered into high school. I was offered a great opportunity to work professionally as a recording artist, and I can only thank the experiences that I had, growing up here in Aurora.
Sure.
And just a district it's known for its arts. And I joined band from age 11, I think. That's how I found love for, playing drums and piano. And I'm thankful for those experiences because they've shaped who I am as an artist. And, I always come back to those times in my life. And I'm just very grateful. So
it's fair to say you have an affinity for the bright lights and being able to perform in front of folks.
I do. I'm actually, it's not something that I chase. Like, I'm not an extrovert, to be honest.
Sure.
I'm actually an introvert, but I love, public speaking, being in front of people and, just talking. I enjoy it.
So you talk about your experiences being all over the place. What were some of those really high points that you wanted, if you were to say, here's my top 5 experiences from 129 or West Aurora, what might some of those be?
Absolutely. I think it stemmed even from a young age. Academically, I was representing this district in the school spelling bee. I went all the way to regionals. I won first place in the Modern Woodman Speech Contest, which I think is the reason why I can speak in front of people.
Sure.
It's because I was working with teachers in the district and, talking aloud. I was a top student, of course. I tried my best. I was a straight A student and involved in a lot of things, especially the marching band is, I think, a big part of my life. I definitely loved the community that I was a part of during that time. And it led to so many opportunities that I did not predict. And being from a small suburb and doing these things outside of it, I think I'm very grateful to have that chance.
probably is a good takeaway for kids. We had a youth forum today that we were talking to kids from Matea High School and from East Aurora High School as well as West. And I think a lot of the inputs or feedback was how do we get kids more involved in participating in co-curricular, extracurricular. And you found your niche in talent shows and in the band and in music. And people may find their niche and their successes in other spots, but you gave it a shot. You had no idea that was your skill set or your affinity.
No, absolutely not. But I think it was cultivated here by just the sorts of opportunities that were offered at this school. I'm lucky to have, tried things out and, found out it's not for me. But for some reason, that music, it just was for me.
Sure.
I've been involved in piano lessons and singing lessons, and drama was a big part of my life, at a young age.
Sure. Who pushed you into some of those or encouraged you, maybe is a better word?
Actually, I wasn't pushed, but my parents they had given me a chance to try many different things from a young age. They grew up sort of different from me. My mom, she grew up in the city and she was forced to play piano and she did not like it at all. My dad was a drummer in his high school marching band and he loved it. And I think that's where I get my talents from. But no, my parents, they put me in a lot of things. And, I tried basketball, I tried softball, I had a black belt in taekwondo. Some of those things I was terrible at. Some of them I enjoyed and it was nice to do it at the time. But I think by them putting me in different things in terms of sports, trying out, encouraging me to join clubs at school and putting me in piano and music lessons, it gave me a chance to try out things and kind of figure out for myself what I enjoy naturally and what I'm good at. And some of those things, it's okay that I'm not good at because it teaches you to be versatile and well-rounded. And that's something that I always...
So you got to figure out for yourself what worked and what didn't work.
That's something I encourage, in kids, especially today, that are looking into college and they think to themselves, well, I have to do one thing and stay in one lane and I need to know where I'm going to go after college. And I kind of push back against that because I think it's good to try different things and, to fail at them because it keeps you grounded and it it helps you explore what you actually want to do in life. And if you don't want to do it, then fine, because you're in the exact same spot that you were had you not tried it.
Makes sense. As I'm hearing you articulate and I'm hearing you talk about in a very mature way, and I don't take this in a condescending way, but at the grand old age of 4 years removed from high school, still not a ton of life experiences, but you seem very, very squared away, very beyond your years. Is that a fair statement?
I try to. I kind of sometimes think that I was born in the wrong era. Like even when I go to college, I am the person that is in bed by 9 p.m. and not, going out, because I'm just how do you just keep going and going and going? I need my sleep.
Sure. And so to that end, with making sure that you're healthy and making sure that you're alert, surely, all the successes that you experienced, you probably had some challenges along the way. And maybe you can share with the folks listening today what some of those challenges were and maybe how you've learned or grown from them.
Absolutely. One major challenge in my life that people really don't know about me unless I talk about it is I was diagnosed with scoliosis actually at the end of 8th grade. This came out of nowhere. It actually came from when my mom started noticing that my shoulder was dropping on the soccer field, and then just performing on stage, she was like, something does not look right. And so we went into the doctor and I ended up having scoliosis, which is, for people who don't know, it's an abnormal curvature of the spine. And so at the time it was 36-degree curve, and I didn't really know much about it. I was about to graduate 8th grade. I was the lead of the play. I'm like, I can't worry about this. I have stuff to, I can't, this is terrible. So I ended up wearing a back brace, which is a non-invasive treatment for people who have scoliosis that is a case under 50 degrees. And so we expected it to work because that's what everyone had told us. And, success rate looked pretty good from what we had heard. And so I wore this thing for 2 years up until high school. I was in the Palms team and, I tried to hide it away in my locker and not show anybody. Thank God I was a little stick, so you could not notice me wearing it over my baggy sweatshirts. And then I got to high school. I was able to take it off. I was so happy. And I went back to the doctor a little bit later, and it turns out that it ended up not working because I had a growth spurt. just at the right time. And so it actually ended up increasing to 53 degrees. And so the only option here was to undergo a spinal thoracic surgery. And if I had not done that, this would have led to complications, growing up later on in adulthood life. And so I went through that, and, surprisingly, I am glad that I went through that experience, because it taught me how to deal with hardship, and not just physical recovery, but in the way that I looked at challenges that were happening, during my life in so many aspects. I was a kid who grew up with, I talk about successes. I was a kid who just happened to have things work for them. I was a straight A student. I won talent shows. I won competitions, and I didn't really feel struggle. I mean, yes, I worked hard, but, if you were to ask any of the teachers that had me in class, they would say, yeah, this kid had the cards laid out for her. And I'm glad I had this, medical experience, because it kind of grounded me, and it taught me how to deal with things that are unexpected in life. And, I carry this lesson, in college, when I'm dealing with, failing an exam, or, struggling to understand concepts and relationships with people, just growing up in general after that experience. I'm glad I had that, because it taught me, how to be resilient, how to adapt, and how to just keep going, because I had all these plans that I still wanted to do, and I had made it a goal not to let anything stop me from doing it. And it took some time. I was outside of school, and I had to be homebound tutored. So shout out to Miss Hill and Dr. Stern for coming to my house. And
Physics teacher.
Yes, staying for hours. And I was, I was hooked up on medications, and I was learning to sit up with these new rods and screws inside my spine, and they sat there for hours, talking to me about what I had been missing. And I'm so grateful for the support that the school offered me,
That's awesome.
During that time.
It's interesting that you use some of the vocabulary that you do, because this is our year that we kicked off talking about productive challenge. We talked about how do we build resilience in our kids when they come to something difficult. How do we help them keep going forward?
For sure.
And your story really kind of illustrates and illuminates the need to be able to have that go-to. If things get tough, do we just fold up our tents and quit? Or do we pick it up and say, we're gonna be successful in spite of? So really appreciate you sharing that, because I think that's something, a lot of takeaways for our kids can learn.
Absolutely.
Really important aspect. So you had mentioned, you have nobody in New York knows you by Hayley. Who's this Hayley lady? How does a girl from small town North Aurora, not even Aurora, small town North Aurora, end up in New York as a recording artist?
Honestly, I'm still kind of asking myself that question too. But, I have a lot to thank for my parents. From a young age, they had always taught me to, know my roots, know where I come from,
sure,
and to
keep
stay
grounded.
modest, absolutely. But, to not have any fear in terms of, exploring outside the country. I started traveling from a young age, and I'm grateful for that, to know where I come from, and to just, explore, outside of where you come from, and not be afraid of going outside of your comfort zone. I had traveled to New York for the first time by myself at 16 for modeling. My mom was probably scared because I was by myself, and I was thrown into a model apartment and doing work out there. And I fell in love with it. I absolutely fell in love with the city. But I have a lot to thank for West Aurora, because I had been exposed to diversity, from being in this community. And when I went to NYU, it wasn't that much different, probably to a larger extent. And, the transition from here going to college wasn't that difficult for me, but I will say that I was used to it, that I was used to being exposed to diversity and being around different backgrounds and, people from all walks of life, which you find here in Aurora. And going to New York University and being out there, that's the one thing that you find out there in New York, is that there is something for everybody in that city. You will see crazy outfits, you will see different styles, different work ethics, and everyone's out there just doing their own thing, and there's a place for everybody. But at the same time, I like coming back to the suburbs, because it does get a little too much out there sometimes.
Yeah.
You always feel that you have to be doing something, and when I come back here, it's like I can drive my car. It's it's clean here. It's just very different, and I like that balance. I like having my home base here. This is always home for me, and I like, going to the city for school and coming back here, in the summer.
So you talk about being grounded, you talk about coming back home. So, you've had this frenetic, fast-paced life as a singer, a songwriter, a pianist, a producer, a model. All of these, some kids would go, holy cow, just to be able to do some of those things would be awesome, but you get to do a lot of those things. Have you ever had time to kind of just take a moment and just reflect and think back about your journey? You talk about this started when you were a young age. Is there anything you would do differently to change that path? And then I'm going to ask the other piece of that is, what's a couple things you just wouldn't change forever in the world?
Wow, that is a hard-hitting question. So if there's anything that I would do differently, I don't know, because at the same time, if I had not done all the things that I had done, I question if I would be the person that, the sort of versatile and well-rounded and, fearless person that I am today. But at the same time, yes, I do wonder what it would be like to, just have kind of one thing and kind of hone that in. And
sure.
Also, I always wonder what it would be like to go to a traditional college, one that's not integrated with the city. And I wonder what my life would be like had I chosen that path. What I would not change my upbringing. I absolutely love this community. This is my home. I say I'm from, when people see me in New York, they're like, where are you from? And they're like, Chicago. And I'm like, no, I'm from a small suburb in Illinois.
Sure.
I'm not a city. I did not grow up like a city girl at all. So there was nothing that I would change in terms of, the school that I went to. I've had such good relationships with the teachers in this community, and I owe it to a lot of, them and this district for shaping me as the individual that I am today. So, no, I don't think there is anything that I would change in my upbringing here in this community.
That's awesome. I think, that's, we work hard at promoting who we are and what we're about in West Aurora School District. And, people make those really tough decisions about where we're going to buy a home, we're going to start a family.
For sure.
And wanting to know, is this the right community for our family and for our kids to have some of those opportunities? And so you kind of really put the brackets around that question mark of should we, or why West Aurora? And you just made a great statement for why, and certainly appreciate that. So, you were on this journey, this career path that's just really exciting and can take you anywhere. What's your next steps? What are your aspirations? You talked about the versatility and the well-roundedness and all these different opportunities. Do you have a path in mind?
It's funny that you asked that because I entered college as a music major.
Okay.
And this is what we've been talking about for the past 10 minutes or so, my involvement with music. So I entered NYU as a recorded music major. I'm about to come out of NYU with a bachelor's degree in computer science.
Holy cow.
On a pre-medical track in 5 months from now, which I'm excited. And it's finally here. So when we speak about versatility, it's funny that you asked that because, yes, I do music, but for the past 4 years, I've been studying computer science and finding a passion for coding.
Good for you.
Which is a field that needs a lot of women.
Yes.
And I am very grateful and excited to be a part of that movement. For the past 3 years, I have actually been teaching children out in New York. I work for a company called Code Speak Labs, so I've been actually working as a coding instructor for several schools in Manhattan. So I've gotten the chance to teach from kindergarten up until 8th grade, just the fundamentals of computer science. And the way I actually entered computer science was during my freshman year when I was studying music. I had been accepted into this very elite program at NYU called the Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music, but very small, 50 students. And I had been taking just a coding like elective just to, I had some extra space to fill, and I fell in love with it. And when I was doing music, I missed that, how do I put this? I missed that math and science part of me that I had grown up with as a child.
Interesting.
It was a big part of my, I was an AP student. I was used to having, classes that were STEM based and that I felt challenged in. And when I was in music, I missed that part. And I felt like something was missing when I was, just going through my courses, which I love music, but at the same time, I felt that I could continue doing that and learn something else in college that would hopefully, benefit society. And
that's incredible.
Which I had been doing at high school as well. I'd been working, professionally outside of school, but doing music in school. And when I got to college, I found that I did not want to do music in school. I only wanted to do it outside. And I found coding, and I was like, this is awesome. You know, I miss this problem-solving part of my life. You know, that had always been a part of my childhood. This, you know, this idea of me, you know, liking that aspect of, you know, academics. And I missed that. I felt that I wasn't getting that. And so I made the switch. And yeah, I'll be coming out of NYU with a degree in computer science. I've had a chance to work
That's
at.
incredible.
Yeah.
So who did that shock most? You, your folks, your friends?
Everyone was very confused.
Yeah.
Even I had some friends from West, they had hit me up and they're just like, when did you do computer science? Like, you didn't do computer science at West.
So what do you want to do with it? I mean, you get the piece of paper and, you know, what do you want to do with that?
Yeah, so I am very interested in software engineering. That's something I've been exploring the past 4 years. And just having the chance to also advocate females to enter the STEM field, which I had been doing through my work. I had worked at Girls Who Code at Accenture a couple of years ago, and I enjoy it. It's a language. It's also, you know, we don't talk about music, but I think there's a big correlation between music and computer science.
Absolutely.
In the way that I had been brought up in studying, you know, jazz with Miss Sampson and Dr. Schuler, you know, you read patterns. That same thing I kind of applied to computer science when you're looking at coding and you're looking at, you know, the way that things are operating, and, you know, you're reading it as if it were kind of music. And I kind of liked it. It was different. It's a field that I can still be creative in.
Sure.
But it's also, it has that side of me, which I think it's a good balance between who I am. You know, I'm a person who likes the art side, but, you know, was also like an academic student that needed that math and science and that problem solving. And I think it's like a way to combine both in a way.
Music and math. Outstanding. You know, interesting that you, and I don't want to miss the point because you've made it a couple of times. You know, we just recently opened up our career center, the Wisner Family Center, which will be opening up with mechatronics. We've got some welding, some advanced machining, but we also know that we're developing a partnership with NIU's College of Engineering and Engineering Department.
That is amazing.
And I think one of the things that they are offering are more scholarships for our females, our girls.
Wow.
And so we have been taking some field trips, like McCleary, one of our elementary schools. They have a 5th grade girls STEAM class. And so we take them a field trip to NIU's College of Engineering. But NIU is offering full scholarships for girls who complete any of the coursework or any of the degrees in the College of Engineering. That's a free education.
That is amazing.
So people are trying to encourage that as well. So whether you want it or not, to have that mantle as a role model, but certainly as a spokesperson for encouraging for more girls. We'd love to get more girls into the welding field.
For sure.
The average age of the welder is 59 years old in the United States of America. There's billions of dollars being invested into bridges and the highways, and we need a lot of people in our workforce. We feel like we can insert a lot of our West Aurora kids because college isn't for everybody.
No, for sure.
But certainly there is absolutely, we need to make some room and really encourage our girls in our schools to think that way. Great careers there.
Absolutely.
So I didn't want to miss that highlight that you made a couple of times. I just want to make sure we hit on that point. So you talked about a couple of teachers that when you were homebound teaching because of your back, that you were just kind of wanted to give some shout outs. Were there other inspirations along the way? I know you talked about Miss Sampson, you talked about Dr. Schuler. Who else kind of sparked you to move above and beyond?
For sure. I'm sure this name comes up quite a bit, but Dr. Stern.
Yes.
And I'll actually be shouting him out in my talk, in 2 days from now, which you'll hear. But this isn't something that I mentioned. So the first day of high school physics, this is one moment that I will never forget from West Aurora. I had heard stuff about this, this Dr. Stern, his name is Stern. I was like, he's going to be really mean. I've seen him in the hallways, with his banana. He stands there like just, watching the students and supervising them. And I had ended up in his class, and it was the first day of physics, and he stands in front of us, and I'm, waiting, for him to pass out the syllabus, the regular routine.
Sure.
Here's the homework, this is what you got to do to get an A in the class. And he's like, we're not doing physics today. And he says to us, if you don't learn physics by the time that you're done with this class, totally fine with me. He says, but I need you to promise me that when you step outside of these West High doors, that you understand to yourself that if you want to do something in this world, that you have the potential to do it. And he was the one who introduced me to the meaning of growth mindset.
Sure.
And we had to write this whole thing about it. And I'm like, this is a physics class. I'm like, we should be learning about, work equals force times distance. Like, why are we learning about these concepts? And I am so thankful that he did that, because those lessons, that small moment that he gave to us on that first day, I've carried that lesson with me ever since I've left this school, because it has helped me tremendously in college. And I think this is what I talk about in my talk on Friday, is that I think the number one thing that you can promote in a student, besides the book content, the equations and the memorization and vocabulary, is that resilience is a strong principle that should be promoted within students from a young age.
Great message. I think that you referenced Carol Dweck, who was the author of Growth or a Mindset, whether it's a fixed or a growth mindset. And it's something that I know the high school has used as a book talk
for sure,
to try and help teachers be positive with their students. So you raise a great point, and you put it into a real scenario. So that's it's impactful. Other people that were inspirational for you?
So I'm not sure if they're still here or not. This was my middle school years. But I had a tremendous relationship with my 6th grade and 7th grade teachers, Mrs. Rowe and Mrs. Erksleben, who unfortunately passed away a couple years ago. But just the experience that I had with them, being a 6th and 7th grader, and the way they had encouraged me, not just in the classroom, but they were also just interested in, not just who I was as a student, but who I was as a human being. I had conversations with them about, what I was doing in music and, my passions outside of school. And they were my English and science teachers, and I had just a fantastic relationship with them, inside and outside of the classroom.
That's a great reminder for the adults of the world, especially here in our district that interact with students every day, to remember that it's not just a student and a grade or an ID number, that they're real people.
And that's hard, especially in college now, because you don't get the personal relationships that you do growing up, elementary, middle school, high school. If you want to see a college professor, you have to wait in an office hour line, as if for a signature, as if they're like a celebrity. And then they have thousands of students, and they ask you your name. Are you in my class? I'm like, yeah, I'm in your class. So it's it's different.
And I think I'm a little biased, but I think we do a really nice job of creating those positive relationships here in West Aurora.
100%.
So you've talked a lot of bit. I mean, some of this stuff's pretty heavy. You talk about physics, you talk about computer science, and you talk about, all of the frenetic schedule that you experience in New York and the New York universities. What do you do to have fun? What do you do to just kind of let your hair down, literally and figuratively, to just kind of de-stress?
Wow.
Or as they say, how do you kick it, right?
Yeah, true. I love traveling.
Okay. Are you a across the continent traveler, or just do you keep it fairly local?
So yes. So my family and I have this promise that wherever I go in the world, that we make it a deal for them not to go more than 3 months without them seeing me, which I've been doing okay so far.
Good.
We'll see how it goes when I get older. Just kidding. But no, we've been very, very lucky to travel every summer. So I've gotten to see my family in the Philippines. I visited my roots in India. I've been to wonderful places such as, Bali and Italy. I've studied abroad in London. So that's something that I kind of look forward to every year, when I'm done with my academics, and is just spending that sort of time with my family and creating memories.
Sure.
Even, outside of school too. I'm not a big, I'm not the typical college student who's looking to party and whatnot, I'd rather be, solemnly walking the streets of New York by myself, listening to my music on full blast. When I have time to myself, I go to yoga. When midterms come around, you can find me in the boxing gym.
Just kind of working it out, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But it's a very busy city.
Who do you listen to when you're walking?
Who do I listen to?
Yes.
Oh, it ranges from all over the place. It could be jazz one day. It could also be like Def Leppard.
A Wayback Machine.
Yeah. I'm all over the place. But also just like when I come home, I don't, in school right now, I don't have the chance to play piano a lot. And when I come home, I have my studio to myself. I enjoy songwriting about the experiences that I have going on in my life right now.
Interesting.
And I'm hoping to release some more music outside after college. So
very nice.
See.
We look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, bringing you back to your roots always, do you keep contact with classmates or teachers or just folks back in the Aurora area?
Absolutely, I do. I keep in touch with several of my friends from West Aurora High School. Also, teachers, I will see them just randomly when I'm back for winter break, I'll see them, at Target or a coffee shop, and
Sure.
and it's very nice to strike up conversations. I keep in touch a lot with, of course, Miss Sampson from Jazz Ensemble, and I've been able to support the marching band because my brother's in it. So I've been to the Disney trips that they've had the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, outstanding.
And watching their performances.
Outstanding. That's great. I mentioned this earlier on, but there are students that would look up and say, "Geez, I'd really like to pursue singing or modeling or songwriting or producing or one of those." Even now that the world knows that you are into computer science, going to have a degree in that. When kids say, I really want to be or try one of those areas, how would you counsel them?
Oh, that's a good question.
I have lots of good questions.
Which I've actually had this happen to me before. I've had, former classmates and, students come up to me and, ask me, well, how can I get into this industry, or how can I do what you're doing?
Yeah.
And I think my only, advice that I could give from, my standpoint at this moment in my life is just to, even if you don't know that you're not good at it, even if you have never tried something in your life before, the only advice that I can give is to try it.
Sure.
Because if you try it and you fail, and you try it and you find out that you're not good, you're exactly in the same place you were had you not had gone for it. And I talked about this before, but I've tried many things in my life that I didn't know how to do at first, but I found that I had been kind of good at some things and I had kind of sucked at others. But I'm glad that I tried these things, and I think that the only thing I can offer, young students that are looking to try different things and try in a new field is to just go for it and to seek discomfort, and don't be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone, because it teaches you about yourself. And yeah.
Don't always try the pizza, drive some spinach or cauliflower, right?
Yeah, it's not, it's better to sometimes not play it safe or, risk and fail at something than having never done it at all.
Absolutely. So I'm going to help, or at least ask you to kind of take that thought, that philosophy, and think about a message. And I'm going to ask you to talk about two of them, so two different audiences. So audience one is the genre of, let's just say, 16 to 25.
Okay.
What would be your message to that genre? If with your experiences, with your travel, your culturization, what message would you want to share with those folks in that genre?
Well, this is my age range right now. This is where I'm sitting at. Oh, okay. If I had to pick one piece of advice, it is that it is okay if your plans change or if things do not work out. If something unexpected happens, or you find yourself doing something that you had not planned to do, it is absolutely 100% okay. I have a brother who's a senior right now, and he's in the college phase, picking out, the next 4 years of his life.
Sure.
And for me, when I was at this stage, I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out of college with music. I'm going to work in the music industry. I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to go to school on the West Coast. Here I am on the East Coast. But I think for this age, especially 16 through 25, I feel like kids and, young adults feel like they have to have everything planned out, that they have to have, some sort of direction. And yes, it's good. It's good to have these sorts of plans and sorts of aspirations that you want to do, but it is okay, if that does not work out. It is absolutely 100% okay.
Great advice.
And if it doesn't work out, then I think it teaches you how to adapt to these circumstances, because, after you leave college, that's all that there is. You're facing, adulthood, which I'm kind of there, but also I'm not there. This is what I hear, that it gets harder with taxes and mortgage and whatnot. So
the American dream, you get to go in debt, right?
So it is okay if plans do not work out.
Well, I think that goes back to your mantra of resilience and taking challenge on and working through it. So your other audience, let's talk about the more experienced people of the world. That's code for old folks.
Ewan.
What would be your message for the older generation?
Well, I got to be careful with this one.
You can lay it out there.
Message to you and all of the
I think
the wise
you just
ones.
called me old, but I can live with that.
No, you and the wise ones. If I had to give advice, it is never too late to start another journey. This talk that I'm about to give, I'm about to address staff that have been here for years and years. which is absolutely wonderful. But, with everything, there's so much stuff going on in the news with, just life is very short.
Yes, it is.
I know I'm only 21 and I'm saying this, but, I don't know how I'm already here about to graduate, and, it is never too late to try, to start a new beginning.
That's a hopeful message. And I know that people sometimes, it goes back to your other message, that plans change. Okay, pick yourself up and move forward.
For sure.
So that's a hopeful message. We appreciate you sharing that. Any other final thoughts or messages that you want to share, or things that an area maybe I didn't probe that you wanted to highlight for us?
No, I cannot think of any. I'm very grateful for my experiences within this district, and I'm so excited to be speaking this Friday at the Power of You event.
Well, we look forward to it. It's a really exciting, very positive day, and we've got lots of activities and lots of acknowledgments, so you get to see a lot of staff members, and we have a couple of new traditions that we'll be engaging in as well, so we're looking forward to as well, and really happy that you'll be there for that, but we're very excited and appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us today. Mm-hmm. Today we have, and I'm going to work through this, Hayley Skye Darukhanavala.
Beautiful.
Holy cow, I won't do that again since I got it right. But we really appreciate you being here today, and thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you so very much.
Absolutely. Please remember you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, including iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and the TuneIn Radio app. I would encourage you to subscribe to our broadcast, and please give us your feedback so we can continue to improve our discussions. Thank you again. Have a great day.